Food is not only the most basic means for sustaining life and growth, but also the center of much happiness and pleasure. Particularly in the United States, there's an abundance and variety of food at a relatively low cost. But behind that abundance hides an uncomfortable and dark truth that threatens our lives and humanity.
Most people order or buy more food than they can eat. Of course, consumers do not intend to waste food and initially feel that they can eat all of their food. But this overconsumption results in a refrigerator full of uneaten foods and leftovers. In the end, an astonishing amount of food just ends up in the trash. On October 27, 2020, an Irvine resident, Chris, hurriedly woke up his family as the police shouted evacuated orders from their patrol cars. The wildfire was spreading down a hillside just 1 block away from their home. The air was already full of ash, and billowing smoke dyed the intense sun a blood red. The neighborhood had faced the brutal reality of climate change.
In addition to wildfires, an unprecedented cold wave of minus 46 degrees Celsius pushed through Montana last December, and in California, rain equivalent to 1/3 of the annual rainfall fell within 3 weeks, killing at least 17 people. Realistically, most people are understanding that these abnormal weather patterns are the results of global warming. So, what is causing global warming and how can this problem be addressed? There are many causes, but surprisingly, food waste is one of the most serious causes of global warming. Food, which is sustenance and a source of happiness in our lives, has eventually turned into a terrifying reality that threatens and attacks the earth.
Keep track of how many leftover loaves we have. We calculate it to try to get a better idea of how much bread we should cook in the morning so we don't have to throw away as many, but we usually have a dozen or so loaves that we just end up throwing away at the end of the day.
Even if a meal is entirely local, its contribution to global warming continues after the plates are cleared. Yard trimmings and food waste constitute 24% of the U.S. municipal solid waste stream, and half of the garbage at restaurants is estimated to be food waste. As this food rots in a landfill, it produces methane. If that methane escapes into the atmosphere, it traps 20 times more heat than CO2.
So, what are some practical ways to cut down on food waste?
Urban Volunteer Association is currently conducting community outreach to teach community members how to compost food waste. The first step is to have conscious purchasing habits, of course, to reduce the overall amount of food waste that ends up in the trash. But the next step would be to start separating food waste to process into compost, animal feed, and even biogas. We have members who are part of the composting project, and they even donate some of their compost to their neighbors.
Junie is a member of IVA who regularly composts her food waste and uses the compost for her vegetable and herb garden. There are cities that have also started compost programs like San Diego. Currently, San Diego City distributes compost bins to restaurants to dispose of food waste separately, collects them daily, and uses these food scraps to make compost.
The San Diego County sent us different compost bins so that we can separate our trash. It's been very helpful in separating and being able to compost, and it's collected every day.
In the U.S., local and county level efforts have been put forth, but expanding to a national level is possible. Countries such as South Korea have been successful in implementing a nationwide effort to tackle food waste. They have food waste collection machines that automatically weigh food waste deposited from each household, and a deposit surcharge is calculated depending on that weight and charged to the household. As a result of these initiatives, South Korea has significantly increased the amount of food waste being recycled from 2% to 95%. We no longer have the luxury to argue the validity of climate change and its severe consequences. We, as a nation, need to act now.
Addressing the climate crisis is a priority for this generation, and tackling the food waste problem is something every citizen can do. Making sure the food we have produced does not go to waste and end up polluting the earth with its byproducts. These everyday efforts will be the starting point to reducing global warming.
Efforts made at the individual, nonprofit organization, county, and even state level have not been enough. It is time for the federal government to get involved. Through education and legislation, the food waste problem can be eliminated for generations to come.